Hey guys, it's Sam here. Welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'm going to be talking you through 3 property strategies that I think are going to make big waves in 2023. So if you're either a new investor or you're a seasoned professional, I think these are going to be strategies you're going to want to know about and you're going to want to understand going into next year as you look to expand your property companies. Now, each and every one of these strategies can be abbreviated using a 3-letter word. We're going to kick off with one that I'm sure a lot of you are going to know, which is HMO. That of course stands for House of Multiple Occupancy. The next one is one that maybe some of you might not know have heard about, which is MUF, and that stands for Multi-Unit Freehold. And the last one, and possibly my favourite one, is CMO. That's one I think you're going to be hearing about a lot more going into next year, and that's commercial multiple occupancy. So let's go through these one by one. We'll start off with the first one, which was House of Multiple Occupancy. So HMO. Now, what is an HMO? Well, an HMO is a property that has been basically split into multiple rooms, and each of those rooms is rented out to an individual. So whereas you might have a family home like this, which obviously has loads of rooms in it, and you just get one family, there's your family, and a little one, that go in there, a house of multiple occupancy will be slightly different. We get rid of the family, and what we're going to do is we're going to put lots of individual rooms in there, and we're going to have somebody going into every single one of those rooms. Now, the benefits of that are that you can, obviously, when you're renting out the rooms one by one, you can probably charge a little bit of a premium, meaning when you have the family in there, you might be getting £1,000 a month, let's say, but when you've got each of these individuals, you might be charging them £500 per room, which obviously means you're getting a little bit more, double in fact what you would normally get. Now look, I'll go into this maybe in a bit more detail on a follow-up video, but mortgages generally cost a little bit more for houses of multiple occupancy, so you've got to take that into account. But generally speaking, your cash flow at the end of it should be a little bit higher. Now, another thing that a lot of HMO landlords also need to take into account is the fact that you are probably going to be paying their bills on top. So obviously take that into account, but the cash flow is still going to be a lot higher. Now, the reason I think that this is going to be really useful in 2023 is because as the economy gets tighter, as the cost of living gets harder, more and more people are going to be forced out of the homes that they are potentially in now, and people are going to be going down the ladder. If you're in a 5-bedroom house, you might have to downsize to a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom house. And if you're in a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom flat, you may have to downsize to actually just renting out a room instead, which is why I think there are going to be lots of people out there in the market next year looking for a room to rent rather than a flat. So I think that House of Multiple Occupancy, HMO, is a great strategy going into 2023. Now, the next strategy that we're going to be talking about is MUF. That stands for Multi-Unit Freehold. I've taken that down from 4 to 3 letters because sometimes you can add a B in, multi-unit freehold block. What this basically is buying a whole block of flats that's split up into multiple flats. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential flats there. Hey presto, there's now 10. Now, one of the reasons why I think this is such a good strategy is because going into next year, we've already started to see it this year, getting the cash flow you want out of standard buy-to-let properties has become more difficult. Mortgage rates have gone up and rents have roughly stayed the same so far, and actually mortgage rates have gone up significantly enough that they're also affecting the rental calculators that lenders use, which means that it's actually harder to borrow what you could have borrowed just a few months ago. So why is this going to make a difference to that? Why is this going to give you what we call a greater yield? Well, if this entire block is on one freehold. There we go, if I can actually spell. You're buying all of these units all together. Now, generally, like when you buy anything, you go to Costco and you buy 400 bog rolls, you're going to get a discount. The same applies here. Whereas the value of all of these individual flats individually would be, relatively high. Let's say they're 100 grand each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's obviously going to be £1 million to buy each of those individually. However, you might be able to get it for 800,000 instead, because you're buying just one freehold. And don't forget as well, guys, anything that's a little bit out of the norm, you are reducing the number of competitors that you've got. There are going to be a damn sight less number of people happy to purchase the entire block of flats on one freehold than there will be buying just one of these little flats that are in there. Now, you can actually add value to these. However, I find that most of my clients don't go down this route. You can add value straight away by splitting the titles of each of these flats onto separate leasehold titles, and that means they get their individual value back. So effectively, you might buy it for 800, go through the rigmarole, the legal side of individually creating leasehold titles for each of these 10 flats, and then you get back up to your nice £1 million valuation. So you're adding 200 grand's worth of value into that straight away. Now, as I said, a lot of my clients don't bother doing that. And the reason being is that when you're buying these, you're getting it at a discount. Now, each of these individual flats are still going to rent for the same amount they would do whether they had their own leasehold title or whether they don't. So effectively, you're getting the same amount of money on this amount as you would have done on that £1 million, meaning the yield is going to be higher. So your cash flow is also likely to be higher as well. And that's why I think that coming into 2023, so looking at these types of properties is going to be a really, really good idea, and something that I know tons of my clients are going to be looking at. And who knows, I might even have a little poke around the market as well. Now, this last strategy is probably my favourite, and not one that many of you may well have heard of so far. It's abbreviated to CMO, and that stands for Commercial Multiple Occupancy. That's how much I like it. Now, a commercial multiple occupancy is essentially, if you think of a large block, let's say we've got a block here, and let's say there's multiple different types of commercial property within this one freehold. Let's say it's freehold. So we might have on the ground floor 2 retail units, and then above it we might have 3 floors of offices. Let's put 2 there. There we go. So you've got 2 different types of commercial property here. Now, here's where the magic happens. At the moment, there is permitted development rights that allow us to convert the commercial units into residential. Now, what I find a lot of my clients are doing is they're actually keeping these retail units on the ground floor, because the permitted development rights there allow you to create a certain number of flats or residential units above. So generally 2, but even here, as you can see in this example, we've got 3 offices. We can get permitted development rights to turn these into flats. You might be able to turn each of these floors into 2 1-bedroom flats. So you're left with 6 1-beds and your retail units on the ground floor. Now, if you're going through the process of having to get planning permission, this can take months. With permitted development rights, it's 56 days to go through that process. And as long as you tick all the boxes, you should be able to know pre-purchase that this is actually going to be possible. Now, why do I think that this is such a massive, massive opportunity at the moment? Well, it all comes down to how much we think the value of property is going to fall over the course of the next year, 18 months or so. So let's take residential property here, and let's take commercial property over here. Let's say at the moment, residential property is valued at that amount, and commercial property is valued at that amount. Now, there's predicted to be a large decrease in the value of commercial property over the course of the next few months. With yields plummeting, loads of stock is going to be coming back on the market. There's so many other factors as well: cost of funds, yields dying, lack of usage. You know, I know I'm now in a shared workspace. Loads of people moving to these types of working arrangements. Lots of people working from home, so offices, you know, are no longer being used, people downsizing, that sort of stuff. So I could certainly see commercial property going down quite far. Let's say it ends up going down to this level. What's going to happen with residential property? Now, we're getting mixed views from the public at the moment as to where residential properties are right now. You're getting certain agents, certain statisticians that are telling us that that prices are starting to come down. Some of them are telling us that they're still going up, and some are saying that they're staying the same. However, it all is indicating that over the next 12 months, we are going to see a bit of a dip, or correction, as most people are calling it. However, we're not going to see the crash in prices as we are in the commercial sector. So let's say they only go down by this much. As you can see, there is a clear difference in the cost of property on, say, £1 per square footage basis from commercial to residential. So in that previous example, where we're taking probably 2/3 to 3/4 of that building and converting it into residential, we are instantly seeing that uplift in value on a £1 per square foot basis. That is where you can add so much value. And of course, that means that when you come to refinance, because you want to potentially keep this block for a long term for cash flow purposes, add it to your portfolio, it means that there isn't a huge amount of pressure to actually refinance up to, say, 75%. In fact, most people that go through this process will look at 60 to 65% loan to value on their mortgages on the back end, which means that they can still pull all of their money back out and go again whilst not being massively leveraged, and they can take advantage of much lower rates. So I reckon after seeing this, you can understand why this is my strategy of choice. Now, obviously, as a mortgage broker, we deal with loads and loads of clients on a day-to-day basis. And really, those three strategies that I've just shared with you are ones that we are seeing clients use more and more and more. And I just think that's going to grow going into the next year. If you have any questions on any of these particular strategies, please drop them in the comments below, or you'll find my contact details in the notes below this video. Also, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be breaking these individual strategies down into their own videos, where I'm also going to go into some of the figures and how we finance those particular deals. So if you don't subscribe to the channel already, please do so and click the notification bell, because when those videos come out, you'll be told. I hope this video was really helpful, guys. Thanks very much for sticking around all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.